Howdy everyone, Nimby here. This morning we're going to tie up some more Dr. Spratleys. Gonna finish up some red and green. Morning, Robert. You're always the first one in. Good to have you, mate. Just getting the stream set up here. Okay, we're just going to tie in our thread to the back. Morning, Weena. What time is it over there, Weena? Blah. I've done similar stuff like that. Gross. Okay, good to know. I just try to mentally keep in mind what time it is for people. Okay, so all the kids will be getting out of school in like an hour or so. Alright, so we got our thread tied in. I'm just doing like a loose thread wrap and then 2 tighter wraps on either side. Yeah, don't worry, Stream Elements. One day I'll actually set you up properly. It's 5:45 here. I always try to get in at 5 o'clock, just never happens. Okay, so that's good. Pop that off. Might need a hair a bit more than that. 1 second. Get my hair stacker. Actually, no, let's tie that in first, see what it looks like, and I'll add more if I need to. Rowboat. Half a hook shank. Yeah, I was just gonna ask you. Ha, I nailed it. It was woolly boogers. My brain was going wrong. It said woolly boogers that you already tied, but I was thinking woolly boogers is what you were going to tie. I kind of tripped up on my own words there. But yeah, I kind of figured they'd move off from the minnow pattern to a woolly bugger, because it adds a few more technique steps in, right? Because you got a tail this time and a wrap body with. I'm assuming they did the hackle wrap with you. That's actually an excellent fly to tie for learning. Yeah, I really like the look of that tail, but it's just a little bit on the light side, so I'm just gonna add a few more. I like the look of it though. Just gonna add about 4 or 5 more fibers here, just to give it a little more body. Yeah, I'm excited. I want to see that. I'm kind of glad that they moved you to the woolly bugger next. Is it, are you looking at it on your cell phone or like computer? Or? If it's your cell phone, most cell phones it'll be the power button and the volume down at the same time. But if you're not on Android, if you have like an iPhone, just look up the model of iPhone and punch in how to take a screenshot into Google, and it'll tell you. Okay, cool. Yeah, it should be just, for the most part, most of them are power up. Or, I mean, power button and volume down. I'm just going to catch in the tinsel here. Dropped my glasses behind my desk, so I'm struggling a little bit. I'll get them later, but gotta move the desk to get them. Just went to reach for them and knocked them behind the desk. It's like, oh no. I bet. There you go. Yeah, it's a similar combination on almost every phone. Some of them have weird combinations, like the Google Pixel, or there's a couple models out there that had weird combos, but they try to make it somewhat similar. I'm being picky and taking out a few stray tail fibers here before we move on, just because they're gonna get in the way of my wrapping more than anything. I can see you. I want to grab. What's your deal? There. No worries. Just lend in a hand. I'm gonna go with the green. Actually, let's see which one's longer here. Just using up some of the thread from yesterday, or wool anyway. I'll go with red. If my red makes it and I have, let's say, a thumb width left over, then I know I can use the green. The green's gonna be cutting it pretty dang close. I might just grab some new stuff. Yeah, let's get back here and tie this in. Actually, I'm gonna trim that end. Yeah, I sue you. Give me all your money. Okay. Yeah, let's do a half hitch. Get that up there. This red will be more than enough for the body. I'm just curious if I will have enough on that green one to do another green out of it. Not a big deal. I'll just cut another piece if not. Oh, I'm curious because woolly buggers can be like any color under the sun and then some, and combinations thereof. Did they give you guys a specific color pattern to use, or did you get to just go all out and pick your own color? My guess is going to be it's either a yellow, brown, or green. Like an olive green was probably my, if I had one guess. Okay, so the piece we cut off is almost exactly the width of my thumb, so we're going to be close, and I'll make the green one work next time. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap this 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And as I spin this, it is going to unravel my thread. I'm going to be spinning this direction. Oh, good. Hey, okay, I was pretty close there. Yeah, this is a nice bright, what's the word for it? I want to say Toro Toro, you know, like the Red Bull kind of, not scarlet, but hey, he was. Good to have you in, mate. I just did up your letter, and I'll have the other boxes done up today, hopefully, to get them out in the mail today. So, Ewa's morning coffee will be in the mail on the way shortly here. And my exposure is out a hair, but I think it's okay for now. I'll adjust it tomorrow. Crazy, dude. I was just talking about you the other day. How were you? Where you been? I was actually a little bit worried about you. I haven't seen you around all the streams for a while. Yeah, super good to see you, man. I've been missing you. Well, that's not a bad thing. I was worried you might have got sick or something. I was missing my daily crazy hunt. I'm just glad to hear that you're doing okay. I think everyone probably watches Brian. Okay, all good. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm the same way in October. I barely got on because it's just a busy time of year for me. Come on, buddy. Wow, that didn't work out well. Let's do that again. Yeah, to be honest, Brian, for all the things people say about him, good or bad, um, hands down, he is the fastest I've seen someone get good at fly tying. I think it has a lot to do with like his background in um, tattoo work and whatnot. But yeah, like hands down of everyone I've seen start tying and learning, he has excelled faster than anybody. Hey, cool. Did your instructor, I'm assuming, probably knew who Brian was? I would guess. But yeah, Brian's got skills. I know he talks it down a lot, but one thing I will say about his scissors, and I haven't used them, so this is just on observation from many other streamers tying with him. I have personally witnessed on stream, including him, several people breaking the tips off. I think he's broken the tips off 2 or 3 times. I know he doesn't like personally make the scissors or anything, but that to me that shows the tempers off on them, and that might have just been his first couple batches. But like I don't know if anyone else watches Spirit Fly, but I was watching one of Spirit Fly's lives and his tips broke off, and I've seen Brian break 2 sets of tips. And it's not a bad thing necessarily. Well, it is. You don't want to lose. Your tips are probably the most important part of your scissors, but it generally shows a tempering problem with the steel, as you'll over temper the tips, which will make them brittle. So a lot of times for the more higher end scissors, and these aren't them, is or that yeah, if you get physical damage to them. But on the more expensive scissors, they'll actually dip the tips while they're tempering them into clay or other things to help to slow the tempering process down a hair. They use that a lot with knives and blades too. So that, like I said, I haven't used the scissors, but that was an observation I have made, is that the tempering seems to be slightly off on them. But again, it's not like Brian's sitting there at a forge pounding those things out. They're made in a factory. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many fly shop owners and instructors have no idea what's going on with the fly tying, fishing, internet world. My fly shops are the same way for the most part. except for one of them that has a rather large YouTube following. Yeah, yeah, it's still you still want to get that because it's all a use case thing, right? Like it's not that the tempering is bad, it's just the tempering is wrong for the use, right? You want to have your tips to be a hair softer than the rest of the blade. Just like you want the back edge of your blade on a knife to be harder than the cutting edge, so that you won't break the cutting edge as much. Or vice versa, depending on the type of knife you're going with. If it's more of like a bayonet or a machete or what have you, you're going to need more oomph behind the. Those are fun. I need to actually get into more articulated stuff. Before game changers were popular, I used to do that kind of thing with just heavy salmon fishing line. We used to make articulated stuff, like fairly often actually, for salmon flies and stuff. But the links do make it easier. They have more movement to them, I will definitely say that. Game changers are a lot of fun though. Like they're just entertaining to tie. I got whack of this isn't sitting quite the way I want it to. Looks good from my side, but it's more on my side than your guys' side. It's just not sitting straight. Yeah, like those are your two main tools besides the vise. And the vice's only job really is to hold your hook. If it's doing that, it's doing its job. Not really sure why that is acting that way, but I mean it's close enough. It's just wandering a little bit to the one side there. But I'm okay with that. We'll go with it. I bet it would. You know, it's a good size and it's got a lot of movement and stuff to it. I bet that would work. Because they're a predator fish, right? They're going to key in on bigger movement. And just nail it. Yeah, happy to see you're back in here. Crazy, even if you're still busy, but I'm just happy to know you didn't, nothing bad would happen to you. Okay, we're gonna go with the gap length. It's one of those, well, it's like it's like a lot of hobbies. It can be as expensive as you want it to be, or it can be as cheap as you want it to be. Okay, so just getting all the tips roughly together. Tear that off. Yeah, I was thinking of doing some muddler minnows up. Maybe not next time because I'm going to be semi-busy in the morning, but in the next week or so here anyway. That's another fun fly I like tying. And I prefer to tie it the traditional way with like proper oak and turkey fibers. Because you can't really buy them anymore unless you get really lucky, or they're extremely expensive. Mostly because that type of turkey, it's not extinct or anything, it's just not harvested anymore. The old wild turkeys. Now we have the classic gobble gobble. Yeah, I mean, with line, you cry once, you know. Um, it's hard. I'm on the fence on that, to be honest with you. Like, I have rods that have super cheap line on them, and I have rods that have super expensive line on them. Yeah, 100%, for sure. That's a big part of it for me. Okay, we're just gonna straighten the head up here a bit. Got a few little gaps I want to fill in there. And we'll get a whip finish. That reminds me, I really need to get to that. I got so many giveaways to start off here, and I really want to get that going. I actually got called in. Yeah, I think part of that, to me, it makes me super happy when I find a rod combo or even just a single thing that's that sweet spot where you didn't spend too much money, but you got good quality. I really like looking for that kind of range where, like, I know I could have spent more and I could have gotten better quality, but the choice I went with is good enough, and it works well for the price I paid. That always makes me happy. But yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked there. I got a whack of giveaways I want to start doing or handing out, and they're all in my cupboard ready to go. Unfortunately, I got summoned for jury duty, so I'm gonna possibly be gone for a week doing that. I don't really want to jump right in the middle of it. I guess it'll give me time to do some editing. But what are you gonna do? Can't say no. There we go, got a red Dr. Spratley. It's hard not to be a sage snob, but they make really good stuff. I don't think you're gonna find a bad sage rod. I've served in jury a couple times before. Um, both times, ironically, as an alternate. Or, yeah, 2 times as an alternate and 1 time as a regular. There we go. Oop, I got a little tag there. Let's get rid of that off. It depends on, like, their little veto status that they do here in Canada. I don't know if they do the same in the States where you got the prosecution and the defense lawyers up there, and they have so many yes or no's. Wow, put a little much on that. Should have cleaned that brush off of here. Okay, we're gonna have to spin that for a second. It's gonna end up like a teardrop. Oh, there you have a pretty classic Dr. Spratley. Oh, I just realized I completely forgot um, the peacock roll. Oh, it'll work just fine with it. Yeah, there should have been a peacock curl collar right above there. Eh, just a hair a little bit much cement, but I kind of like how it made a nice black bulbous head on it there. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the head. Unfortunately, it's missing the collar. It'll fish all the same. It's not going to make that much of a difference. You used to be able to get out of I actually went through training and all that and application process and everything to be sheriff. Um, but you used to be able to get out of the jury duty stuff a lot easier than you can now. Like a lot of times when they call it in, and I haven't been in one in a couple of years now, but they'll pick you for several trials. So like even if you don't get picked for one, it's like you got to make the gauntlet for like 2 or 3 others. So like by the time they get through picking all the juries, it's like yeah, I mean if I didn't put the head cement on there, I would totally just kind of whip some. I could even do like a doubling loop or something behind that bulbous head, but with the bulbous head, it actually looks really good. Like it doesn't really look that much different, surprisingly. There's the other two. You see, like it's not like that different, really. It's surprisingly how good that looks without the collar. Just gonna give it another minute here. There's a lot of glue. Yeah, it looks really good. I'm definitely not opposed to putting hair implants on flies when I forget things. I've forgotten ribbing, I've forgotten tails. There's always a way to make it work. Hey Victoria, good to have you in. Yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a stonefly per se, but this one here works a treat. These little black, dark brown, kind of root beer brown nymphs. They're pretty close to a stonefly. I'd fish them in a creek or river, wherever stoneflies would be. I'd probably just make the bodies a little more segmented, a little thicker, and maybe one extra thorax cap to do the whole stonefly deal. But I bet that would work just fine for a stonefly. It's actually kind of funny sitting there. You got to sit there for like several hours. I think it's like last time I was there it was like 6 hours, and everyone's got their excuses, right? Um, and most of the ones I've gone to, they end up doing a plea deal anyway and just canceling it, which is rather annoying. It's like, can't you do that before involving several hundred other people? You know? There's gobs of stonefly patterns out there, mate. I mean, stoneflies are one of those things you can kind of just do your own thing with and just make stuff up. Like once you have, like any nymph body, like that little orange guy there. Once you have the process for the parts of the body down, you can kind of just whip stuff together and, you know, just play with it, right? Just add stuff and take stuff off, and nymphs are a gob of fun, especially stonefly nymphs because they're bigger. So if you're not familiar with tying a lot of nymphs, they're a good one to start with because they're a little bit on the bigger side, like a large dragonfly. So you'd want to tie that on like at least a 6, if not like a 8. Yeah, we're all paying it, right? Yeah, let's get another hook in here. Get the green one going. I had to slightly modify the body just so I got enough uh, length there to make it work. Good luck. Hopefully you don't have too much weird garbage to deal with now. Thanks for dropping in, Robert, though. Always a pleasure to have you in, mate. Have a good rest of your workday. Yeah, court cases are a lot of things, but I wouldn't go as far to say as they're efficient at all. So we're just going to be using the same thing. I'll try to remember the peacock hackle or collar this time. It's okay, Stream Element and Spot. I think everyone's already subscribed. You can settle down now. Sorry, I'm just trying to get all these tips roughly the same length here. There we go. Okay, so we wanted about half the length of the body, give or take. And that's just grizzly hackle leftovers. I like using the, I'll save the butt ends from my dry fly hackle. Yeah, I mean, I've tied a lot smaller than 18, but to be honest, there's not a lot of point. The only reason I go down to even 18 is for the mosquito no-see-um midges that I tie, because we get gobs of those and they actually do work. But the major problem with going any smaller than that isn't that it's really hard to tie. It's like if you're tying an 18, you can tie a 22 or you can tie a 23 or whatever. The skill level at that small point doesn't matter anymore. If you can do an 18, you can do anything else. But the problem comes in is tying the damn thing onto your leader because they're so tiny. So I don't like to go below 18 personally because it just gets too hard to tie it on your leader. Yeah, exactly. I do a lot of. There's really no need for it. Like, I got gobs of smaller hooks, and they just sit in my hook boxes. They're fun to tie, but it's just actually using them is really nasty. Yeah, these are just a 6. Um, Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Brain shut off. Let's get the tinsel tied in. Getting my truck ready for winter here. It's been parked all summer, other than gathering wood and whatnot. And I gotta burn off all the gas. Really? I like mustad hooks. I like mustad, like the old. I got a couple boxes here. I got a lot more in storage, but burp. Here's some traditional mustads. These are, was it 10, 12, 14? Just your standard. I got gobs and gobs of them though. They're my, hands down, my favorite hook to tie on. Because I like traditional stuff. But even though the quality's good on them, like some of the older hooks, they do have their issues. Okay, so we're actually going to tie the body part in back here. I'm going to go about half the hook. Just because my little bit I want to use up here is on the shorter side. Yeah, exactly, and that is why I like mustang hooks more than anything. My second one would probably be eagle claw hooks. Because that's just what I grew up fishing with, right? If I wanted a decent hook, I just went and grabbed some mustangs and tied them on. They have that classic kind of dark brassy patina to them. I like the shape. You know, very obviously classic shape. I like the standard kind of hook bends on them. Yeah, you name it. It's got all the stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna hackle plier this guy. Just because I want to use every little hair out of this I can. I'll throw a half hitch on there. I'll use the rotary. Same deal. This one's gonna be green. Doc Spratley. I know, that's gone through my head a couple times. Yeah, that's I wouldn't say it's a problem with this hobby, but it's a consideration. Is the amount of hooks and styles and stuff that you can accumulate. And unfortunately, it's kind of a necessary evil because they all have their own differences in uses, right? It's like these Aberdeen hooks are actually pretty versatile. I can use them for nymphs and streamers and any kind of bigger fly. I kind of make them work on these. Then you have your standards, like the one we were talking about, just your standard you know, Mustang hook. Oh, yeah, look at that. Got her done. There we go. I like it when that happens. I don't have to throw material away. I didn't want to have to toss this just because it was like a hair short. Yeah, exactly. Keep it simple. I think that's funny. I was just talking about you in the last stream yesterday, wondering where you were, went to your channel, checked your stuff out, and then here you are, just popped in my stream today. I'm happy for it though. Thanks, crazy. We have a tight little, bait making fishing community here, and I'm happy to be part of it. Oop. Sorry, I forgot to wrap this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably too many, but we'll get it done. Yeah, those wraps might be. I could have probably spaced those out a little more, but they still look good. Yeah, we summoned you from the ether of the fishing. Yeah, I need to get into more. My wife keeps telling me I need to tie mice flies again. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, I have a few. I don't know if you could pronounce it Hanak or Hanak, however you pronounce it. I have a few boxes of theirs, and I will say, for competition style hook, they're good quality. But man, you pay for it. They aren't cheap. At least here they're not. Probably more import stuff, but they are not cheap here. I think for the ones I picked up, I was paying at least a couple dollars a hook. I think it was 25 for a 10 pack. Kanakistan pesos. But yeah, they're a good quality hook though. One thing I'd like to get into, and not necessarily stream with it, but I'd like to do a couple videos of just hook making, like actually going and cutting and forging and bending some hooks for salmon. I think that would be fun. Well, that beard thinned out quite a bit. I'm gonna have to add some more to that one. It's a really cool process. I've done it once or twice, and It's a lot of work. Well, it's not really a lot of work. It's just it's tedious. It's a little time consuming. Three patterns that I'm not changing out. This would be one of them, and probably this color or black. The black's probably the most universal, the most useful, but it's more useful like mid-season. And if I had another pattern, I'd want this hook or this pattern. I'd want it. If I had to only choose one, I'd probably go with this green. Oh, that's hard though, because the green and the red, they work well, but they're more of an attractor, like situational. Okay, yeah, I guess if I had to choose just one, I'd choose black. This in black. And then I would have to choose a dry fly. And I would probably go with a Tom Thumb for my dry fly. Because they're durable. I can fish them almost anywhere, creek, river. And I'm just not super happy with that beard. Not like it tied in or did anything wrong. It's just weak. It's just, that's like 2 full clumps and it just doesn't look like anything. Let me grab a different feather here. The end of the fronds must be just really thin on that. I like a full kind of proper beard, you know? That's just not doing it for me. I'll leave it in there, we'll just add some more. I want some heavier. Yeah, this is better. So these are nice, heavy, thick fronds. That's what I want. Those are too wispy. Yeah, sorry. So I'd have this pattern here in black. I'd have a Tom Thumb in like a mouse brown. Or a light tan. That would be a hard choice. Okay, we'd probably go with light tan. Like a whitetail flank color. In my opinion, it's one of the most, at least around here, it's the most versatile dry fly. Yeah, I mean, if I couldn't choose this one, a pheasant tail nymph would be my second. If I was choosing like a wet fly to tie. And also it would have to be what flies I actually enjoy tying. I enjoy tying Tom Thumbs. I enjoy tying these. I enjoy tying pheasant tails. And it's nice having a fly that only takes one bird or one material to tie to, which is nice. But it would be this. It would be a Tom Thumb as my dry fly. An Adams would be very close second. The only reason I wouldn't go with an Adams over a Tom Thumb is, in my opinion, the Tom Thumb is just a lot more versatile. I can fish it in way more scenarios than I can a dry fly Adams. With a dry fly Adams, I kind of need the water to be more still. You know, need to have good weather for the most part. With a Tom Thumb, I could fish that anywhere. Creeks, streams, rivers. I can submerge it slightly. It's just way more versatile. And my third fly would be a classic, yeah, I'm not going to forget Hurl this time. A classic wet fly Royal Coachman. Because that works, that just nails things around here, like brook trout and everything. I could fish that fly all day. Those would be my 3 to pick if I was fishing for my enjoyment. Now, if I'm fishing to put fish in the fridge, it would be a completely different selection of 3 flies. Like if I'm fishing for what's going to produce, it would be a green dragonfly nymph. Would be my #1 choice. With a split tail, and it doesn't really matter if it's a thicker body or not, but I would have to have a split tail, some type of monofilament eyes, because they're in the water 24/7, like all year. You can catch fish on those all year. The next one I would pick for producing would be a scud pattern of some sort, so some type of shrimp pattern, because I can use that for ice fishing. Again, they're in the water all year. They're always there, so I can always catch fish, and they're almost in every water body, creek, river, stream, doesn't matter. And they work and they produce. My third one for like a dry fly type thing would be a for production. You know, probably yeah, actually, yeah, I was gonna say elk caddis, or I guess if you consider a stimulator to be a dry fly. That's not really, but stimulator or elk caddis would probably be the one that produces the most. They just catch fish. But I was actually thinking about that. There was a little short that someone did that got me thinking. I was watching this morning actually, where a guy was out there fishing, and every cast he was catching 6-pound rainbow, beautiful, 6-pound rainbow, beautiful, 6-pound rainbow, every single cast. And he's like, oh, I must have died and gone to heaven. And then he's like, every cast, like, so it's like the end of the day shows up, and he's got like, he's caught hundreds of fish, and every time it's a 6-pound rainbow, 6-pound rainbow. And he's like, wow, I must be in heaven, because like I'm catching the perfect fish every single cast, every time. And then like this little angel thing pops up and goes, nope, you're actually in hell, you're not in heaven. This is all you're ever going to cast. Every cast you make is going to bring you back a 6-pound rainbow. And I thought it was kind of ironic, because that's, a lot of people would think that is heaven, right, to catch your perfect fish every cast. But then you realize, like, that takes all the enjoyment out of it, right? You know you're going to catch your 6-pound rainbow every time. So sometimes that's why my picks, or my personal picks, are going to be different than what I know will just produce and catch me fish. Because the enjoyment is outsmarting the fish, right? And the enjoyment is knowing that you can fish that fly or that hook, doesn't matter what you're using for tackle, but knowing that you can, that what you did and your choices made that fish bite on that hook, right? And I thought that was like such an interesting little short, because it's like, yeah, you know what? They're like 100% right. Every time you cast, if you caught a perfect fish, there would be no reason to go fishing. What's going on here with that one? 1 second, this one's getting all messed up on me. Come on, buddy. What are you doing? Yeah, but that goes back to kind of the same question, right? Like, if you had to pick, if I had to pick like a scenario like that where I was either catching a fish every cast, or I have a lake where I'd only have a 0.1% chance of catching anything, I'd pick the lake that has a 0.1% chance of catching anything. To me, that would be more enjoyable. Because that's the way fishing is, you know, a good chunk of the time. I'd rather have that than catch a fish every single cast without fail. It was just an interesting concept. Hey, morning, Ron. Been enjoying your aquarium streams, actually. I haven't been lurking more than I've been talking, but I generally try to say hi when I get a chance. But they're nice and chill for me to watch while I'm working sometimes. Especially like later at night and stuff when there really isn't much on for streams. There we go. I like that one. That turned out good. Okay, now let's not forget the collar this time. Exactly. That's the excitement for me. It's like, you know, you're getting nothing, you're concentrating, and just as it always seems to be like just as you're mentally checking out and just enjoying the scenery or listening to the water or watching a duck or something, you know, just as all that's starting to happen, boom, and you get that tug and you're just like, it just wakens you up and just brings you right back into focus. That's so much more important to me. But to each their own. I mean, everyone's got their Oh, 1 second there, I didn't pull out any peacock. Probably why I forgot it. Yeah, we'll blame it on that. Yeah, 100%, every time. And I feel like you'd lose that if you knew you were gonna catch a fish every cast and it was the same thing every time. It's like, why would you bother casting? Okay, so just a little front of peacock here. Let's see if we can make a nice little collar. There we go. And yeah, that peacock head, even though I missed it on the last one, there is something magical about peacock that the fish key on. I think it's like the iridescent color quality. It's just like so many other iridescent bug shells and such. Get a nice little head done up here. What are you doing? Did you break? Really? That was going so well too. How did you break? Or where did you break? What? I'm not really sure what's going on here. One second. Yeah, I don't mind fishing stock lakes. I love stock lakes. What? I'm not sure what happened there. I thought for sure it broke. Weird. Okay, well, we're gonna try and make that work. I already got it tied in there. What? Okay, that's messing with my brain a little bit. I'm not really sure what happened there. It acted like it snapped, but it clearly didn't. Which is not uncommon for a peacock curl. It's very brittle. Dude. That's kind of creepy. I'm not sure. Not sure what happened there. I mean, my collar portion isn't the smoothest. It's definitely a little bulbous, and I could have flattened that out, but not sure if that's what my issue actually was there or not. Okay, that was my issue. I broke it. Come on, buddy. Play ball. I want to get the next one going here. Huh. That was weird. I don't know if any of you guys caught what happened there, or if my fingers were in the way. I have no idea what caused that to do that. Oh well, appears to be fine now. Okay, let's get a head made up before something else happens. And it's an interesting question. I'm glad I didn't actually catch who dropped that question in about which fly you would have. Which fly you would have. What am I doing? Come on, Nimby, keep it together. Boy, ugh. Let's get some half hitches and get this tied off before I start putting glue on it. Come on, brain. It's an interesting question because that's honestly typically how I fish, is I will bring like 3 flies and that's it. I don't have a giant fly box. Well, I do, but I don't bring it. I'll literally grab 3 or 4 flies, stick them in my hat, stick them on my pocket, put them in a tiny little fly box, and go to the lake. And that's how I fish. So it's ironic question because that is how I fish most of the time. Like I'll go out and I want to fish a nymph today, and that's what I'm gonna fish. Or I want to do some streamer fishing or whatever, and that's the ones I'll bring. And I'll bring like 3 or 4 of that type and a couple backups just in case whatever they're not keying in on that at all. But yeah, that's exactly how I fish. I don't show up with like 300 different Baetis patterns and every color combination. And I realize I am unique that way. Because yeah, most fly fishers will have, every variation of every color that they can fit into their box of every pattern. I think my kind of thorax area there where I was tying on the peacock was probably just a bit too bulbous and not flat enough. I was getting a little lazy there and probably should have fixed that up first. Especially with peacock, it's not the most forgiving material necessarily. Still looks lumpy. Oh, I think it's, like I said, I think it's the underbody, the under portion there that I could have spent more time getting proper. Okay, we'll just rotate that. Till the glue dries. So there's your classic green version, or green variant of a Doc Spratley. It's an interesting pattern. It's, like I said, it's my favorite pattern. If I had to just pick one to fish, this is the pattern that will produce the most for me. It has a pheasant tail overwing with a pheasant almond underwing. I like tying that way. And grizzly hackle tail and grizzly hackle beard. You can switch the grizzly hackle beard out for many other variations. A lot of people use different types of upland game bird for their beards and tails. Grouse works pretty good too. Partridge. Anything that has a bit of a very variegated look to it, it'll work just fine. You can switch the body color out for whatever your heart desires. Green, red, black, purple are the most common variations. Hey, morning Glacier Shark. Sorry mate, didn't see you in there. Good to have you, man. Okay, since that one's done, let's shout out some colors. Why don't you guys pick? There we go. Got all the colors of the rainbow. What color do you want to see the next one? And we'll make it work. Anything your heart desires. You want to see it in yellow, blue. Hey, you could even go with a white, red. We've already done red though. Orange. Or I could do some Fentex. Okay, we got one vote for orange. He wants orange. Give you guys about 15 more seconds. You can pick your color. Oh, we got a one vote for purple. We got a second yay or nay for orange or purple. Both are good colors. Do I have a nice purple? I think I have a nice purple. Fentex is a Canadian product that is basically the predecessor to Antron. They still make it, but they don't make it as well as they used to. The older Fentex from the 70s and 80s is much nicer to work with. It's softer, slightly smaller fibers. It's if you're in the fly shop, you'll probably see it as floating yarn. It is quite commonly what it's sold as. But it's not a Come on, Hook, what's wrong with you? My hook just bent a bit? There we go. Okay, it's not bent at all. That was 100% my fault. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's do a Fentex, since you guys were asking about Fentex. Not so much for egg patterns, it's a little different. Yeah. A lot of people like this hook, actually. I get a lot of comments on this specific hook. People like it. So we're going to go with this purple Fentex. Just because it's the best purple I got. Yeah, no, it does, and that's exactly why I use it for streamer patterns and stuff. It's light, but like you can see, it's got some girth to it. The nickel plating actually helps it to be a little more. I find it's pretty resistant to rusting and that kind of thing too. It's just a good all-around. If I want like something heavier, yeah, it is a nice purple. It's almost like a Joker purple. So the problem with Fentex is the fibers. You can see them coming off there. And I have a love-hate relationship with those. So it floats. It's a floating yarn. It's a trying to think of how to pronounce the name of it now. It's like Ocean. But when they extrude it, it's actually in like a star shape. So it's got like 5 little fronds that come off of it, and then it's got a hollow center. So it looks almost like a it traps air really well anyway. But this in white makes a great like breather yarn for chironomid, that kind of thing. This is an older. This one just happens to be an older Fentex. Now, each Fentex has its strands, like yarn. It's hard to see in here, and I'm going to have to separate it. Some of them are 2, and some are 3, and some are 4. There we go. So one of the kind of annoying hard parts about this stuff is getting it separated. You can tie it in thick. I mean, if you're doing like a woolly bugger, you can just use like the whole thing. But you want to try and keep those fibers together. And there's points like right here where it's connected. And a lot of times it's actually kind of melted together. So again, you got to try and keep it from getting too... I know I'm fiddling with this a lot more than I probably should be. You got to separate it if you want it thinner anyway. But the characteristics that make this excellent for fly tying are the same characteristics that make it a real pain in the butt to tie with. There are all these wispy little fibers. You want to get rid of any broken ones. So you can see here I got a nice clean strand now. You can see how if I was a little meat-handed with it, you know, I could have a bunch of broken fibers. Like you see how tiny these are, right? They're just minute, minuscopic little things. but it's all one piece. It's not, when they extrude this out, they extrude it all out in one single long strand. So it's almost like more like a thread. Or if you have a yarn, it's a bunch of small fibers all mixed together. These are just continuous long strand. So as long as you keep it together and tie it in, it becomes incredibly durable. And this makes really good bodies for dry flies too, because it floats really well and it's light. Oh, I got way ahead of myself here. Yeah, that's what we're going to use. And we're going to use that one strand. And I'm going to actually get some thread on the hook here instead of just talking about Fentex all day. Sorry, guys. Got me all excited there. Fentex is like one of my favorite materials. One being it's Canadian and it has a really cool story, and I love historical older products. And that's one of them. And I like Canadian products because I'm Canadian. And the other nice thing is it's cheap as dirt. You can get a whole skein of it at like Michael's or most craft stores for like $2 or less, and that'll tie you thousands of flies. Or you can go to the fly shop and buy a little card of it for, you know, $6, $7, whatever turns your crank. But we've all been there, right? Antron's a little different. Antron came after Fentex. In a lot of people's opinion, they kind of perfected it. Antron is a completely different chemical makeup, however. But it's very similar production process, very similar characteristics. Okay, I need to get some hackle going here. Okay, let's use up some of that stiffer hackle we were using last time. There we go. So, just cut off tippets from grizzly hackle. And I just like to kind of flay it out like that a bit so I can see the size on everything. Just helps you get your tips kind of lined up a little better for tails. They don't have to be lined up like anything crazy special, but it does help to have the majority of them playing ball. Okay, we're going to tie that in about half the shank length, right there. Well, even though it is half a shank length, it looks too long to me, so I'm just going to pull it back just a bit. I'm probably being completely picky, but why not? Let's be picky. Okay, and if I do one tight wrap right on the hook base here, and then cinch it down really tight, like almost to the point I'm breaking my thread, and then 2 wraps back on the cloth or on the thread. What that'll do, and that's really handy for a lot of dry flies, is it'll fan the tail out like flat, like fingers, right? So you can see when I turn it sideways, it'll be nice and flat. That's a little bit more poofed out to your guys' side. I think it probably rolled it a little bit. Yeah, that's better. There you go. Now you can see it's poofed out nice and flat. Not important for this pattern, but if you're doing a lot of different dry flies like drakes, mayflies, things like that, and you want to get the tails out so they fan out and hold water better, that's a really good technique. That's partially why I do like 3 or 4 wraps right before the butt, so just between the hook point and the hook gap, or sorry, the hook point and the barb, and then I'll tie my tail in there, so that'll secure it better when it's thread on thread. And then just on the other side of that, like right here, that's where you can crank down on it, and that'll allow you to control the flare of your tail. Hi, sorry, got a little sidetrack there. We'll get the tinsel tied in here. Hey Matt, good to have you in. I'm glad this is relaxing for you. That's exactly what we shoot for. We don't need no drama. We're just here to chill and tie flies and enjoy each other's company. And enjoy a nice tea every morning. Yeah, if you're enjoying it, feel free to subscribe, Matt, and join us again tomorrow. Here almost every morning around this time, so if you're available, we'd definitely like to have you in. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying, the older Fentex, this happens to be a variety of, is a 2-strand to a 3-strand. The newer stuff is a 4-strand, and the fibers are way thicker, like 3 times as thick, which makes them more durable. It just makes them a lot more harder to work with. It's like the difference between like squirrel tail and deer hair for thickness. But yeah, it's super cheap stuff you get on Amazon. You can get it on any craft store. Will typically have it. It's normally used for making handbags and slippers and that kind of thing as a knitting material, because it's extremely durable. So you can knit a pair of slippers out of this and it's not going to fall apart. But that property also makes it really good for tying flies. And the fact that it's super cheap, because you can separate it like we did. And you can get several strands, and it also, like, it holds, you can't dye this stuff worth anything, but it comes in all sorts of different colors, and the colors are color fast. They're not going to fade on you. Actually, I'm going to actually do a half hitch here, and we'll put the bobbin up out of the way just so I don't catch it. Give it 2 half hitches and we'll put it in the bobbin cradle. There we go. Now we're going to overwrap this so we go away from ourselves and then to our bellies is the direction we want to wrap the body material. And it's a good habit to get into wrapping your body material in that direction. There's no right or wrong way. Like if you're left-handed or right-handed tire, there's all sorts of different reasons you would wrap your thread one direction or another, or your body material one direction or another. The benefit of doing it if you're a right-handed tire and wrap the directions I wrap. Hey, thanks for subscribing, Matt. Hopefully we'll see you in tomorrow too. Like to have you around. We got a pretty tight little crew here. The bait making fishing community on YouTube is awesome. Love it. Lots of great people. Hey Valhalla, good to have you in, mate. Hopefully your day is going wonderful. How do I learn all this? By doing it over and over and over again. I've been tying flies since I was about, well, 7 or 8 anyway. I started tying started actually selling my flies when I was about 8. But my dad taught me when I was really little. No worries, Valhalla, man. All good. You probably put the work in yesterday. Oh, sorry. So yeah, my point about the whole wrapping direction is if you're wrapping it away from yourself and under for the body material, then you can wrap your thread. We're going to do 8 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we can wrap our tinsel the other direction. So we're going to go under, so like away from our belly to our face. And as we do that, I'm just going to do this first wrap by hand here, and then we'll use the rotary. And as we do that, the thread over here is actually going to unravel. So those 8 wraps we just put on there are going to stretch out. Oop, that's what you want to avoid. And that's the other reason you want to go under first. Because if you go over, you'll be too close to your tail. A lot of times you'll hit your tail. On a lot of new tires, you'll see their tails will be bent like that. So if you go under, your first wrap when you come up by the tail will be just a ways away from the tail, and it'll be a lot less likely to slide back and hit your tail. No guarantees, but you know, it'll help. So now as we wrap this, we can just keep our fingers right where they are, and that will give us nice symmetrical wraps. Just physics. Or you can wrap it by hand, you don't need a rotary. Rotary just makes it look cool. Yeah, I was gonna say like 3 to 5 years. We were talking about that last time. I'm glad that you're still looking into that. Hopefully it works out for you. Like I said, it's not something that you're likely to lose any investment in. But with like any investment, there's always risk, right? But I'm glad that you're taking that step. Yeah, but Matt, if you're interested in learning fly tying, feel free to drop in here anytime. If you have any questions about, you know, anything that you've come across that's given you difficulties, or even just where to start, shoot me any questions you got, mate. I'll be more than happy to help you. That's exactly what we do here. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to read the dollar amounts here. It didn't come through in the chat, right? Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. I hope it works out for you. It seems like it's a really good opportunity for you. But yeah, Matt, if you have any questions about how to start fly tying, or if you've already started or you're just thinking about starting, it's one of those hobbies where you can spend as little as you want or as much as your wife will let you. Like most hobbies, you can spend a whole lot of money or you can spend almost nothing. Um, it depends on what you're fishing for, to be honest, because like I can give you some simple answers to that, where what would be the easiest fly to tie or the easiest fly to learn some basics with. But in my mind, if you tie a fly that you can't fish, then it loses a little bit of meaning, right? So it would depend on what kind of fish you have in your area, and then I can tell you, what would be the best one to go. Woolly buggers are really common because you can really fish them for so many different fish. And they're not necessarily easy to tie, but they also teach you a lot of fundamentals. Yep, there you go, woolly bugger. That's a very common one. That's what Robert was just in the chat here. Unfortunately, he had to go back to work, so we don't have him with us anymore. But the second fly that Robert tied was a woolly bugger for that reason, because it teaches you a lot of really good fly tying fundamentals. And it's not necessarily easy, it's just challenging enough to get you to learn those fundamentals. Hey mate, good to have you back in. Good to have you in, Favin. Rainbow trout. Okay, so yeah, Maddie, if you're going for rainbow trout, yeah, if you want to tie it to catch fish, a woolly bugger is a really good standard, and that's why they use it in a lot of tying classes. It's easy to get the materials. There's nothing expensive or hard to find with woolly bugging materials. It's very simple fly, and like I said, the more important part of it is it's teaching you several different techniques, which are actually a lot of them are in this fly here that we're tying right now. So I'll just go over those quick for you. So you're going to tie in a tail with a woolly bugger. You're going to tie in a body. Instead of this tinsel, you would wrap it with a hackle, but you're doing the same process that we just did with this tinsel, just with a feather, which makes it a little more difficult, but it's the same idea, it's the same process. And then you finish the fly off, and you have a collar, and then you're good, you're done. But like the steps that you take to tie the woolly bugger are going to be the same steps that you tie hundreds of other flies with. So it's a good fly that a lot of people will start with. Not necessarily the easiest. The easiest fly that you can learn to tie is probably a zebra midge, because you can just use black thread. Got a little poof hanging out there. I'm just going to clip that off. Yeah, it's a cool looking fly too. Like, that's the other thing. You don't want to necessarily tie an ugly fly. Sorry guys, one sec. Just looking for my black Sharpie marker. I don't know how it happens, but the ones I use more often always seem to migrate to the bottom of my marker pile. Or disappear entirely. What? Huh. Okay, well this one's almost dead, but hopefully that'll be enough. No, I think it's dead. Sorry. I'm normally more organized, I swear. Where? I wonder if I used it for something else. I normally try to keep my fly tying pens for just fly tying. Otherwise they end up around the house everywhere as markers. So what I'm doing here is there's a little white puff. There, now it's gone. Sorry, hopefully you can see it on the camera there. It was just a little white puff sticking through. Yeah, that purple's awesome. I'm glad. I don't remember if it was Ewas who gave us purple as a color comment. Whoever it was, thank you, because it turned out really good. In any case, if you have a little piece of feather sticking out from your butt or your feather, which is extremely common, you'll get this happen all the time. But what a lot of people will do, especially when you're new, is they'll try and cut it out, and they'll cut and they'll cut and they'll get as close as they can, and they'll cut their thread, and the whole thing just unravels. Or they'll pick at it, or they'll try and bury it with their thread, which is fine. But then you end up with a thicker collar or head or wherever you're tying it off at, thicker than you need to. So a really cool trick is just get a Sharpie marker, permanent marker, whatever, black, and just touch it, and it'll just poof, just disappear. Glacier Shark gave us the purple? Oh, cool, man. Thanks. Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's gone. It just magically disappears. That's why they call it a magic marker. There. So now we're going to tie in the wing. I'm going to get a new feather here. So for the underwing, and this is not a classic pattern or classic use of this, but this is just my personal spin on it. I like these almonds, these big shoulder feathers off of pheasant cape. So on the pheasant, you'll have right up in the shoulders, you'll have these big almond feathers, and these are also great for like Mohican style streamers and that kind of thing. They have a nice little black tip on them, but we're really interested in this section here. And I'm going to use this as an underwing, and an underwing has a number of uses besides looking pretty. Good to have you in, Victoria. Yeah, I got such a collection of zoo. So we're gonna get rid of all this fluffy. You can see this got little fine fibers. We're gonna get rid of those because they'll just bend and wisp on you. Don't try and use them up. They don't really have a lot of use. Okay, now we got our nice feather. We want to take our wing off since this is a little bit on the thinner side compared to what we're using for our overwing. We want to have it a little bit longer than our gap length. That's a good judgment for almost every fly. The length between your hook point and your shank is your gap height. And if you're wondering how much of something to grab, if you're just messing around, you don't know, or you're just freestyling it, go for the gap. Because then you're consistent with each fly, and it's generally enough that it'll do the job for you for whatever you're trying to do without being too much or too little. So I'm trying to get all those, hopefully you can see that, bending the feather back so that all the tips are roughly the same. Doesn't have to be crazy accurate, and then we're just going to pinch those together. And then just grabbing the stem part here, and we're just going to grab it and then pop it off. You can cut them off, but the more you practice that, the faster it'll be for you. And the reason I like to do it this way, as you can see, this it has this beautiful, like, almost like sunburnt orange peel look to it. Like it adds a real nice color. And a lot of the bugs that we have here, the underside of their thoraxes and the underside of their thorax caps have this same kind of burnt honey color. So for here, I get way more hits on these with this underwing, at least for my area. Completely unnecessary, just my personal throw on this fly. You can go right to a pheasant tail, which we'll be tying in a second here, as the overwing. But underwing has a couple jobs. It stabilizes the overwing, and it's a little bit of a softer fiber typically, so it adds body. You can kind of think of it as like a almost like a pillow for it to rest on. It helps it to have structure. Again, not necessary. It's just something that you can add in. And that feather, the large almonds work really well as an underwing because they're soft, but they still have enough rigidity to keep things straight, so they're not just puffing out like marabou would. Where did my feather go? Oh, we're slowly working down. Look at this. Yeah, we used a good chunk of that already. This guy's a long one too. It keeps going. This is a pheasant tail. one of the most useful feathers you can get. Well, actually, any feather on a pheasant is useful, but these, I'm gonna get some off this side here, even though it's a little more damaged. I just don't want to get too far up one side. So again, we're gonna go with a gap width. And I'm gonna bring this down. Now for most things, if you're doing a wing or something, you can just cut it off like that. You don't need to do this next step. Again, this is more of a me being picky personal thing. But you pull it down, and then in between your two fingers, and at like a 45, like that, and that'll bring all those tips together. We're pretty darn close to being all together. So normally it's here, about 45 out. Yeah, what I would do, the only thing I'd suggest for you there, Valhalla, on the land purchase, is to talk to a completely separate, maybe even someone in a different city, real estate agent, especially one if you know any. So, well, one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this. The dull side is on your guys' side. You can see it's just black. The pretty side, if I get my arm to bend that way, is on this side with all the color. So what we want to do is take our fingers, and we're going to hit the top and the bottom, and just basically fold it on itself. I hate using this analogy, but almost like you're rolling a cigarette. So now we got all the pretty stuff on either side and the dull stuff in the middle. Because we want to have the pretty. Yeah, like honestly, like, cause like you said, it's a big life purchase, right? Like that's a huge deal. So getting someone that's out of the picture, because obviously the seller wants to sell, and who knows what your realtors in the area have. Yeah, and I mean, like they'll give you, like, what you're looking for is an honest, unbiased opinion that's outside of the purchase structure, right? If you use a local one, who knows what ties they might have to that landowner, right? So if you get someone from out of there that's completely separate, they'll have a lot, in my opinion, they'll have a lot better unbiased opinion about what's going on with it, or if it's worth getting. They might have a whole bunch of different things for you to be cautious of that you didn't even think about at the time, right? So I'm going to use a pinch wrap to tie this in. You don't need to, you can just tie it in normal. I find with overwings, it's good to do a pinch because it'll hold it right on top like that, on top of the underwing. Ooh, my pinch wrap, I can just see on the camera, slid forward a bit, so we're going to very carefully hold that here and get that fixed. Just gonna have to walk my thread up. It did slide on me. Good thing I saw that. That could have been bad. There we go. So now we got the overwing sitting right on top of the underwing. Oop, I didn't mean to crush you there. Sorry, buddy. And then you can see how the underwing kind of acts as a foundation for the top wing. And that's completely optional. You don't need to do that. You can just tie just this top wing in. That's the traditional pattern. It'll work just fine for you. Yeah, let's get this cut out here. If you're doing, like, when you're learning, when you're doing overwings and stuff, or any type of wing like that, you end up with a lot of material right at this point. You can see how thick it is already, and that's with me being somewhat careful. One thing you can do is when you're removing your material like that, cut it on an angle like a 45, like the direction that this wing is going. And then what that'll do is it'll splay the fibers out. I wonder if I can do this with one of these leftover bits here. So instead of cutting it straight off like this is cut straight, when you're tying that in, you're going to end up with a big bulbous lump at the end, right? So you're going to have a big step drop off. If you're cutting it on a 45, I'm going to try and get this to do what I want it to do. Hopefully it will do it. Actually, instead of me just pulling on the fibers, let's just cut the fibers and actually show you. Okay, so let's say this was the material that was sticking out that you had cut in there. If I cut it on a 45, well, let's make it look nice for the camera. There we go. There we go, good enough. So if I cut it on a 45 like that, when I'm tying that in, I'll just catch these first couple strands as I'm wrapping, and then a little more, and then a little more, and a little more. And that'll allow these to be bound down to the hook before these are even tied in. And that'll give you a nice ramp, and it'll be a lot smoother than if you just cut it straight off. So hopefully that makes sense for you. You can use that for many different material tie-ins. It's not something you always want to do, but it's something to be mindful of. Exactly, yeah, it's a gradual little ramp. But not only is it a gradual ramp, it allows you, when you tie the material in, it binds it to the shank or to your thread base a lot better. Because if you're binding that whole bunch down, you're binding material to material to material to shank, where the other way you're just binding thread, material, shank, thread, material, shank, like less and less as you're going up. So they're way more stable. Okay, sorry I got a little sidetracked there, but hopefully that might have helped someone. So on that note, I'm just going to even this out a bit, because I do have a bit of a drop right here. And I want to not have that problem we had in the last one. It's not so much more surface area, but it's actually probably the opposite. It's probably less, because what you want to do, you can think of it as like having a handful of like dry spaghetti, right? If you're gripping that dry spaghetti, you can grab the middle spaghetti and just pull it out, right? It doesn't matter how hard you grip that spaghetti, like, so you're not breaking it, because just like with the material we're tying in, it has a breaking point, right? I can pull really hard down on this and literally just cut these feathers off. So it's like, spaghetti is a good analogy, because you can only crunch the spaghetti so much before it cracks. So if you're holding the spaghetti as hard as you can before it cracks, you can still pull those center spaghetti strands out, because you're only putting your pressure around the outside of the spaghetti, which is trying to transfer down to the bottom. If you took that same spaghetti lump that you're hanging onto and you spread it out, so it's like on a 45, and then you're putting pressure on it with your hand, you're not going to be able to pull out any of those strands, because it's even pressure across the whole stack. Hopefully that analogy, weird spaghetti analogy, makes sense for you. But yeah, the fibers in the middle aren't even bound to anything except for the fibers around them, so they're loose, so they'll fall out. Yeah, so there's multiple reasons to do that. Again, that's more something you learn as you get going. Like your first couple flies you tie, don't bog your brain down with all that stuff. It's just a simple habit to get into. But if you tie it on, like for instance with a woolly bugger, if you're putting on an over wing or something, and like half your wing fell out after, but like you tied it in really tight, that's probably why. And that's a really common thing for new tires too. It'll like perplex them, because they're like, I swear I tied that in tight. And then you get into these bad kind of habit feedback loops where you're trying to fix a problem that you just have without knowing really how to fix that problem. And I've been there, we've all been there. Okay, so our next piece is peacock. This is just peacock curl. Another staple feather. But that's been on my list of things to do, is actually make some long form videos on like actual entry level fly tying stuff. Like as cheap as you can go. So you're basically just making all your tools, everything out of what you got around your house. Because I like that kind of thing. And there's a lot of people that would probably start fly tying, but they're intimidated about walking into a shop. And it's hard for anyone to walk into a shop and not walk out with several $100s worth of stuff. Excuse me, sorry. Good, Val. Hopefully that works out for you. I mean, it's not going to hurt nothing, right? All it can do is give you better advice. But especially when that much money's in play, I mean, that's like your life savings, right? So you want to make sure you do your due diligence with it, that's all. Yeah, like a mop fly, people make fun of those things, but like they work really well. They're cheap, you can get the materials almost anywhere, like a dollar store. You probably have a mop kicking around that you could just cut them off. It jumped on me a little bit there, but I think we're good. Lost tension on it for a second. Yeah, I'd like to do some long form videos on just like the dirt cheap, simple, easiest stuff you can do to get into this hobby, because there's not very much out there, to be honest. And I find not only to find that stuff interesting, but I think it might help some people get into the hobby. And more importantly, if you get into the hobby and for whatever reason you're not into it and don't like it, at least you haven't, invested a whole bunch into it. Yeah, no worries, mate. Good to have you, and I really hope that works out for you. I really do. And yeah, Matt, what Ewaz was saying there for a mop fly, if you're not familiar with what that is literally cutting a piece off a microfiber mop. Those little finger things that hang off the mop. And then tying that onto the hook as a fly. So it looks like a little grub worm kind of thing. That's probably, other than like a zebra midge, that's probably honestly one of the easiest flies you can tie, because it's just the mop bit tied on. But they work. They work well. And a lot of people get mad because they work well, because they're so simple. But for me, this hobby is all about chilling out, relaxing, enjoying myself, being creative. Working with natural materials is always an enjoyment because they're perfectly imperfect. Every single feather I pick up is different from the last one. No two feathers are the same. And every bird is different, every patch of fur is different, so they all have little quirks that you have to overcome. There we go. I'm happy with that how that one turned out. That one's a beauty. But that's your classic, well, at least my spin on a classic. Yeah, for sure. I haven't tied a woolly bugger, and it might even be over a year to be honest with you. Sorry, I just dropped my thread out of there. Come on, stay in there. I'll fix it after. Um, some other things you're gonna need is some head cement. If you don't have head cement, which you probably don't, clear nail polish. Sally Hansen's is kind of the standard, but I mean, I have hundreds of, or not hundreds, but dozens of different types of nail polish, and they all have slightly different characteristics to them. Like this one's just a kind of cheapy gel nail polish, but you'll need something like that. Well, actually, you don't need it if you're decent with your knots. There are a lot of people don't use any cement at all, but since you're going for trout, they have sharp little teeth. They like to tear the threads up. A little bit of glue goes a long way in getting your fly to catch more than one fish, but definitely not a necessity. You don't need it. But I mean, one bottle like this for like $7 will get you thousands of flies. This is the same bottle. This bottle's been over. Yeah, basically, it's just a thin glue. So this is basically just, in essence, this is a thinned out nail polish is really all it is. Chemically, it's a little different, but I mean, when you boil it down, this one's like $8. But you can see how much I've used. Actually, maybe if I turn it this way, you can see how much I've used out of the top of that bottle. And I tie daily, and I've only used that much. And I've had this for maybe a year and a half. So a bottle will last you a good while. But I mean, nail polish, I mean, most people have nail polish. If not, whatever, dollar store, just go pick up some clear nail polish. You can even use black or different colors too if you want. The reason I'd say it's more of a necessity is, again, you don't want to frustrate yourself, right? If your knots, when you're learning, your knots aren't going to be the best. You know, they're going to probably work, but you're going to have stuff come undone. So it's a little bit better to have that extra security for, you know, like I said, go to the dollar store, $1, $2.50, get yourself some clear nail polish. You can also thin it out with acetone if you have any acetone. So if you do buy cheaper nail polish, it's typically a little on the thicker side and kind of globs up. So you can get rid of some of it, pour a little bit of acetone in, don't need a whole lot, shake it up. 100% acetone will work with pretty much any nail polish. And then for a couple bucks, you got enough head cement to last you probably your fly tying life. Thanks, Glacier Shark. Yeah, we're just gonna rotate that for a minute here until that head cement dries up. Yeah, that one turned out a treat. I like that one. You said purple, was it, Glacier Shark? I'll throw that in your box here. I haven't sealed it up yet, but I'm gonna be hopefully sending that out today. Yeah, it is. You want to be careful with it. Basically nail polish remover, but yeah, it'll melt a lot of things. Don't get it on stuff you don't want to. One thing that'll happen, I don't have it handy, it's down in my drawer, but one thing that'll happen with this stuff is you'll get about halfway down, and I got several bottles, and it'll get too thick and it'll turn like brown as it slowly evaporates as you're using it. And when that happens, you can just add a little acetone to it and thin it out again. Okay, so we're just going to rotate that there. So that's a purple Dr. Spratley. This is one of the classic patterns for British Columbia. You can use it in all times of year, really. Has a grizzly hackle tail and beard, a almond pheasant underwing, and a pheasant tail overwing, with purple Fentex body, mylar ribbing, and a peacock head on it there. Awesome classic pattern. This is my favorite. If I only had one fly to fish, it would be this fly right here. Possibly in this purple. It's a really cool color. I know purple does work well. I don't fish them too often, but they work good. Yeah, I worked in flooring too, mate, and I've asked me how I know that that stuff is nasty. Yeah, acetone will wreck you if you spill it on yourself. You definitely want to clean up properly if you have an accident with it. That being said, you can buy it anywhere. Yeah, exactly. You just want to use some soap and water and dilute it and clean it off as quick as you can. You'll be fine. But yeah, I've definitely had it wreck tools and uniforms, and I've had patches in my skin that I've got it on that I've left, like you said, kind of just flake off. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do up a woolly bugger for you today, Matt, or I would. Pretty much coming to the end of my stream here. Been going for a little over 2 hours, so I'm going to take a break, get some breakfast, and get ready for my work day. But if you want to come in tomorrow morning, at the same time, give or take, I'll do you up a woolly bugger, okay? I'll make sure I got all my material ready. No worries, me man. Yeah, Maddie, if you want to drop in tomorrow, if you're in here, I will do you up a woolly bugger, and we'll go over it step by step, okay? Be more than happy to do that with you. I even let you pick colors. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing up some woolly buggers tomorrow, so I think that's a good idea, because Robert's learning to tie them too, so I think it'd be a good time to go over woolly buggers. Like I said, I haven't tied them in a couple months now. But yeah, it'd be a good thing to do. Hey, well, I just want to thank everyone for stopping in. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys. It's been a good live. Yeah, anyone that's hanging out in here that hasn't subscribed yet, feel free to pound that subscribe button. Clicky the thumb and make the number go higher. And I'm glad everyone enjoyed themselves. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. It was a good stream today. Thanks, Glacier Shark. Thanks, Wee Man. I think I saw Maddie pop in there earlier. Robert, I know you're gone, but I'm going to give you a shout out anyway. Victoria, Valhalla, Ewas, Fabin. Good to have you guys all in here. Saving Grace Outdoors, all the ones that popped in to say hi. You guys all have a good morning. It's been a pleasure. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks kindly.